All right. Thank you very much for coming, everybody. This is Brian with Verify. I am a software engineer here. Welcome to today's Wednesday workshop. The topic today is UCCX detail columns, the most commonly utilized and what they represent. I'm going to be joined by my colleague, Mike Stratton. We call him Magic Mike because he is our resident Merlin when it comes to all things CDR and CCX. So he's going to kind of help us untangle the web of what these columns mean. If you're not very familiar with our CCX reporting, you will probably notice when you look at it that the columns are very different from what you get in CDR, and it's not always terribly clear what they may mean or what usefulness they might have. So Mike's going to walk us through that. Let's just go with a quick overview of what we do here at Verify. Then we'll get into the live demo with Mike. He's going to be the presenter today. And after that, we'll have a quick Q&A session. If you have any questions, please go ahead and type them into the Q&A panel in the lower right corner of your webinar window. And we'll answer those as quickly as we can. And also, if you stick around to the end, you may be the lucky winner of a $50 Amazon gift card. So definitely stick around to see if you've won. Let's do a quick overview of what we do here. Verify is the preferred analytics and management solution for Cisco collaboration. Deployable either on-prem or as a hosted cloud solution, we provide industry-leading CDR reporting and call analytics, as well as customizable dashboards and widgets, UCCX reporting, remote phone control, change management, and we are now happy to offer Cisco Cube CDR reports and dashboards. If you have any questions on any of our features, or if you have any interest in evaluating our Cube offering or any other features you may not be currently using, please contact us at support@verify.com or reach out to your account manager. And one more thing before we kick this off, for an additional fee, Verify offers enhanced consulting services to our customers. Verify's SE team engages with you on a one-on-one basis to remotely provide additional consulting, report building, dashboard configuration, and system monitoring assistance. This is designed to provide you with a dedicated Verify SE to do all the heavy lifting for you and give you a stress-free, hands-off experience. For more information, please contact us and we'll be glad to speak more in depth about pricing and terms of service for our enhanced consulting services, or ECS. All right, with that, let's get into the demo. I'm going to hand things over to Mike. Mike, how you doing today?
Doing good, sir. Thank you. How are you?
Very good, very good. All right, so let me just get this.
All right. Let's try this. Boom. There we go. All right. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with us today. As Brian said, we're going to go over some of the UCCX detail columns and kind of show what the data represents. I think I did this same type of webinar maybe a year ago, but if my memory is anywhere good as I think it might be, I think I just dumped all the data into like one big report and went over the columns. So I'm going to change it up today. I've built kind of 3 different reports, one looking at inbound, one looking at internal, and the other looking at outbound call traffic. I'm going to highlight the important columns and just kind of explain how the data is more kind of geared towards inbound traffic through like a CSQ. I mean, we can't report on internal calls from agent to agent. We can't report on outbound call traffic. It's just there's a lot more data that's geared towards, the main traffic that you're seeing is the inbound traffic to the CSQ. So to start off, though, we do get asked a lot if we have some sort of documentation that covers, what these fields mean. So the fields that I'm talking about, when you're building a report, whether it's agent-based or CSQ-based, it's this section here, the call detail section. These fields, these options are the same no matter if you're building an agent report or a CSQ report. And so we do have some documentation available. So if you go to our knowledge base and just search for UCCX dictionary, there are, as of today, 3 articles that cover the different parts of the reports. There's going to be a 4th. It's just not available yet. The one that we're covering here is the CSQ agent and call details dictionary, or the data is contained in this dictionary. But we also have the agent state detail dictionary available, which covers only in the agent report just this section here. So it goes over, it covers what all of this means, what all the different reasons and events mean. It kind of explains how it's all put together. And then the last one is the CSQ Statistics Dictionary. That covers the Q reports. So that covers this data up here, the counts and the averages and everything that's included in these three types of content. So like, the averages, the counts, it kind of covers all of this and it breaks it out. The one that's missing that should be up there hopefully in a couple days is the agent stats. It's just a little bit different from CSQ, so I couldn't just copy it over. So moving forward with that, again, if you have any questions on the data, go ahead and ask it in the Q&A panel. I'm going to start with the inbound report. And if you can't, this already is big. If you can't see it, the columns, I'll try to make it big without being too big. And I'll just go from left to right. This is a good setup for just inbound call traffic. The first set of columns, like from here all the way to here, covers the data that is not agent based. So like the inbound call traffic is actually, let me jump back into the report. I'll explain a little better. So going into the inbound report or any of the reports, when looking at the call details, there's three sections. You have the contact call details section, which is everything under this header right here. And this is all contains data that's pretty much applicable for any call. It's not always going to be populated, but every call record has like an entry in this table. And then if the call makes it to an agent, this data here, and some of the columns are already selected, will be populated. So the agent connection data is only if the call goes to an agent through a queue, and then the contact queue details contains all of the queue information. Now, our software only reports on calls that go to a queue or that go for an agent. So usually this data here will at least be populated with something, but if it's like an agent to agent call, then we're just looking at the agent data. So jump back in here. Going from left to right, my first column I selected was the contact start date and time. We actually have 4 different timestamps. We have the contact start date and time, the contact end date and time, and then over here I have the connection start date and time, and then there's also the connection end date and time. And I didn't really select the end times for this one. The contact start date and time is different from the connection time, whereas the contact start date and time, it identifies when the call began. So think of it like when the call was born, or like in like when the call manager sends the call to the CCX and it's first connected. That's when this timestamp is created. So and then the connection start time is when the call is presented to an agent, and this is only more so for all calls. So really the contact start date and time, whether it's inbound, internal, or outbound, it's when the call is born or when the call begins. And then connection is when on an inbound call through a queue is when it goes to or when it's presented to an agent. So you can see here the timestamp 7:59 and 18 seconds. The connection start date and time is 7:59 and 26 seconds. So it took 8 seconds for the call to reach an agent. And so we have a queue time of 4 seconds. So it looks like it takes about 4 seconds for the call to be maybe 4 seconds for it to like hit the queue and then to be delivered to an agent. So 2 timestamps. Yeah, one is when the call begins, and then one is if the call goes to an agent when the call is presented. Originator DN is the caller ID. This is a great column. When looking at any sort of inbound report, it shows you who's placing the call. So if you're searching for a customer or anyone's call record on an inbound call, either look in the originator DN column, or if you're building a search set, this is the column to look in. Whereas like in Call Manager, we would be looking for like a customer's number in the calling party number field. So it's kind of like the same field when looking at inbound call traffic. CSQ name, straightforward. This is the name of the queue the call came through. Here I have everything sorted by the cars queue, but if you have multiple queues or multiple queues in the report, you'll see everything in the report. Queue time. Queue time is how long the caller was in the queue for. Queue time is only applied to calls that came or that are inbound and that have been queued. So like a call from an agent to an agent, a call from an outbound call from an agent, this field will be blank. And queue time also overlaps with ring time. So in this case, there's a 4-second queue time and a 4-second ring time. This tells me that the call started ringing the moment it hit the queue. Contact type. Contact type is basically just Cisco speak for call type. So in this case, I have everything is going to be incoming because the way that the report's built. But there are different types and contact types between incoming, the standard incoming, internal, and outgoing. There's a few others in that list. So if you're looking for if you're combining different call types together, or you can include this column in the detail, or if you're searching for a different a specific call type or call types when building a report. If you're in the call detail section, if you're creating a call detail search set, you can search for contact type and then filter your calls based upon one of these different contact types. Moving on, we have two different dispositions. There's contact disposition and then there's queue disposition. Contact disposition, if you think of it, it's more like a global disposition. It tells you how the call, kind of like what happened to the call within the contact center, whereas queue disposition tells you what happened with the call within the queue. So like for contact disposition, you're going to see abandoned, handled, do not care, aborted, rejected, or cleared, or a new one that we've added in 12.3 a couple of versions ago, ring no answer. So if I scroll down, I can find, so like here we have a call that was like ring no answer. And we also have the same ring no answer for queue disposition. So in this case, with the way Cisco reports their data, if a call comes into a queue, there's one record at the queue level for this call. But if the call goes to an agent, and if the agent doesn't answer, and then the call goes to is like presented to another agent, that creates two agent records to the one queue record. So as in the detail section, you're going to see the call reported twice. So in this case, here's the first call at 12:10:24, and here's the second call with the same connect time because it's part of the same call record. They're just out of order because of the way I'm only grouping on the queue. So here, this call came in. It was in the queue for a combined 18 seconds, and then the call went to James. The call was presented to James at 12:10:33 seconds, but James didn't answer. The way we know that James didn't answer was that the queue time is 12 seconds, which I believe is the default queue time in CCX. So when the call hits, or I'm sorry, ring time, not queue time, ring time. When the call hits that 12-second ring time, then the agent is marked not ready, and the call stays in the queue where then, it's either presented to another agent if there's one available, or it just remains in the queue until someone else is available to take the call. But James, in this column here, this is the talk time column, which tells us how long the agent was on the phone or how long the agent was connected to the caller. In this case, James has a 0-second talk time, so we know that James did not answer the call. But because the call shares the same disposition because of the same call record, like the same one row of data, in older versions of our software prior to 12.3, this would be marked as handled because that's all that was available. So now we're marking it as ring no answer if the talk time is 0 because we know that James didn't answer the call. So the call was actually answered by Marie, where where Marie spoke with the customer for 7 minutes and 23 seconds. So, all right. So queue disposition then is going to tell you what happens at the queue level. You're going to get a different set of disposition values or terms: abandoned, handled, or handled by queue, or handled really, dequeued, and then handled by script or handled by another CSQ. So most of the calls, if you have like a dequeue command or in your script in the CCX, if the call is sent somewhere else and if it's dequeued first, then you're going to see like if it's sent, like if the caller after like 2 minutes the call goes to voicemail or the call goes somewhere else. If that call within the script is being dequeued, then the majority of your calls, if they go somewhere else, will show up as dequeued in the queue disposition column. Moving on, custom variables. So within the scripts that are built within the contact center, you can add custom variables to it to pull in more information. So if you have it set up, and as long as we can see it, which we normally can, we can pull that value in the report. So if there's certain fields, or there's certain data that you want to see in the report, definitely check out the custom variables if they exist in the scripts. It gives a lot of information that's more tailored to your specific environment, not just like the global information that's contained in the CDR. So in this case, this sample data, they were using custom variables. We have a couple different values. One looks like a phone number, and then one I don't know what it means, but they're used throughout the in the data. All right, so this kind of ends the the global call information. Moving to the right, this is more the agent specific information. So this information is only populated if the call comes through a queue and is connected to an agent. So if we have like an abandoned call, like right here, these two calls were abandoned. We can see that all the agent information is blank. So connected agent name will show you the name of the agent when the call comes through a queue and then is presented to the agent. There's a couple different agent values that we report on. Let's go back here. So we have the destination agent, originator agent, connected agent, and the queued agent. For inbound traffic through a queue, the connected agent name is the column you want to add to your report. The other queued agent, really, I've never seen it used. It happens if you're, it's populated if you are queuing the calls directly to the agent and not to a CSQ. Never seen it used in a customer's environment, so but that's, it will be populated if you're doing that. And the other two options are destination and originator. This is more for internal and outbound calls. So you can see which agent placed the call or which agent received the call for a non-queued call. So for inbound traffic through a queue, connected agent name is the column you want to select. Connection start date time, already covered it, but that's when the call is presented to the agent. And then the times, the ring times, the talk times, hold times, work times, handle times. These are only populated again if the call comes through a CSQ and then is delivered to an agent. So ring time is how long the call was ringing at the agent's phone. Ring time will overlap with queue time. So when the call is, or like when the agent's phone is ringing, the person who called in is still sitting in the queue. So this ring time will also be applied to this queue time. So for here, the call was, never really queued. It was just ringing from the moment that they entered the queue. This call, where was that one call? This call here. So this call was really queued for 1 second before an agent became available, and then it rang at Marie's extension for 6 seconds. Talk time is the amount of time that an agent spent on the phone with the person who called in. It does not include hold time. So and then there's a separate column from hold time. So the total time of the phone call is really talk time and hold time. Sort of so yeah, talk time is just time spent connected to the caller. Hold time is if the agent puts the person on hold for whatever reason, then the hold time will contain some sort of duration. So here now, if the agent puts the caller on hold multiple times, there will not be like separate hold values. It'll just all add up to the same value. So this agent could have put them on hold twice, once for 25 seconds and a second time for 25 seconds, or it could be just a one time of 50 seconds. Work time is also called wrap-up time. So this is the time at the end of the call, after the call's been disconnected, that the agent has to put notes in the ticket or for whatnot. It looks like the max work time for this queue is 30 seconds, but if they go ready before, or if they go ready before, then it'll be a shorter work time. And then handle time. Handle time is something we added in one of our more recent releases. Handle time is the sum of talk, hold, and work time. Cisco does include it in their CUSD reporting, but they never included like a column in the actual database. They just do the calculations when running the report. So do we. So you'll see, talk time is 3 minutes and 43 seconds, plus 30 is the 4 minutes and 13 seconds. So, and then the last two call wrap-up reasons. If you're using wrap-up data or wrap-up codes, you'll see them in the report. We are not this sample data. They were not including them, so everything's blank. And then transfer. So if you have if you want to see how many agents are transferring calls, you'll see in the transfer column either a yes or a no. When the value is yes, it means that this record was then transferred, or that Cisco's terminology says that this leg transferred the call. It just means that this call was then transferred. Okay, and that's it for the columns for the outbound. Again, if you have any questions, answer stick them in the QA, and we'll get to at the end. The next report is I'll start with the inbound call. Not inbounds, we said inbounds. Internal. So we're looking for like agent to agent traffic. A bit bigger. You're not gonna see, the Q&A might not always be populated. And stuff like the talk time, hold time, queue time, ring time, that won't be populated for these calls, but you can still see, which agent called, where do they call? Sometimes they call an agent, sometimes they call some other number. So in this case, I went with originator agent name. It's not the connected agent name that we saw in the inbound report, but now we're seeing, which agent, initiated the call. We can show their extensions, or we can show their login IDs too. And that also applies for the connect agent columns as well. We're seeing the contact start date and time. The connection start date and time, which I have here, is going to be blank because the call did not come through a queue unless the agent is transferring the call to another agent, and it's still part of a queued call. So in this case, this is like an internal transfer. This agent, you're going to see, you will get a connection time because the call was the call was queued, or it went through a queue. But the majority of internal traffic, if it's not queued, this column will be empty. You can always still rely on the contact start date and time to see when the call began. Original call number works the same way, like the original call party number with the call manager. This is the number that they dialed. So if the extension information is blank, we can see here what they dialed. I don't know this data, so I don't know what these numbers mean or what they apply to, but they are internal numbers. It looks like they're just not going to an agent. Contact type, again, we're seeing here everything's internal. So again, your contact type is a great column to show you, the direction of the call. Connect time, I didn't have it in the previous one. Connect time is related to contact start times. It's really how long the call was connected for. So we've lost, because these calls aren't really being queued. We've lost talk time, work time, handle time. We've lost all those time values. So really the only other time stamp that we have, or like duration stamp that we have, is connect time. So we can see how long the call existed for. It kind of goes back to the contact start date and time. So it's when the call, it's how long the call just existed within the CCX. And then here, different agent names. We have destination agent names, extensions, and then connected agent names, and the CSQ names. So in the case if a call does, internal call does go to a queue, you will get the agent's extension. For like a straight, just plain internal call, let's scroll to the bottom. You'll see, these are just, agent to agent calls where we can see, who called who, how long the call is for, direction, and then, what numbers they dialed. Okay, we'll jump over into the outbound calls. Let's see. There we go. Okay. So the outbound calls we have like the same columns available as we did for the internal calls. Originator agent name is going to be the agent who placed the call. Same thing with their extension. Contact type in this case is going to be outgoing. And then what we do get a disposition, so we can see if the call was handled or abandoned. Abandoned would just mean the call went out, but it's never connected. Same thing, we don't have the connected start date and time. We have the contact start date and time. In this case, then connect time is call duration. But now with like call manager data, the duration column or the field is connection time. In UCCX, it's how long the call existed. So you can, if I find one, you can have an abandoned call. Maybe I don't have any in this report, or maybe it's just a very large report. But if a call is abandoned, you can still have connect time. I ran into that with a customer. We learned that the hard way, where if a call is ringing, that counts as connect time. So if an outbound call, you're waiting for it to connect, it rings, 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 they hang up. The call is an outbound abandoned call. It can still have connect time. So if you're running like, we do have a couple columns in the summary stats where it's like outbound, abandoned, talk time. Talk time is just connect time. So you're going to see, or you could see, duration on abandoned calls. And the same thing is with the other report, original called numbers, you can see who dialed, where they dialed, or where they dialed. So original called number is kind of like I said, the original called party number. Called number is much like the final called party number. So you can see on outbound calls, where the call went to. And so really, like I said, internal outbound calls, not a lot to play with, but you can still see, where the call went, who placed the call, how long the call was for, and what time the call was made. Most of contact centers data really revolves around those inbound calls that are coming through a queue. And that's where you get like the talk times, the hold times, the work times, and all the different timestamps and the more information. So And I think I'll stop here. Brian, I'll give it back to you, and then we can cover some Q&A.
All right, sounds good. We do have one question in the QA. Can I build a dashboard for the concurrent calls on a given trigger?
Yes, you should be able to, as long as we see the trigger in the CDR, but you're not going to get it from the contact center data. You can, if we see it in the call manager data, yes, how much time we have 3 minutes? Yeah, let me jump back into, I have a report already ready for that, I think. Actually, let me jump, dun, 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 dun. So in this case, in our CUCM data, with so if you want to look for the trigger, or if you know what if you know what the trigger number is, then you're already ahead of where I would be. But yeah, if you can't, so like in this case, these are all calls going to the UCCX in our sample data. I believe this number is the trigger. So in this case, you could build a concurrent concurrency widget looking at this number as the original call party. So I may even have a dashboard available for that. I think maybe not. No, unless this one pulls through for me, but no. So what you would do when building a widget, go into the CUCM call analytics, go to the utilization concurrent call activity, and then select your call manager cluster, and then create it how you want under the search sets. Look for original call party number, and then put in, I forget what the trigger was. Oh, there we go. Whatever the trigger number was, and then put that in, and then you can see the concurrent calls. Now, from the call manager's point of view, what you're going to get with concurrency is the time that the caller spent in the queue. So it won't include agent time, but that would be, but you could see like more like just like call flow into the trigger. So in that case, if you want to see, like peak concurrency for the trigger throughout the day or throughout the week, this would be a great widget to build.
All right, awesome. One other question came in. How are service levels met, missed, determined? Met/missed, I should say, determined.
There's the service level is configured within the CCX for each queue. So as far as the met missed level, and I think for that, we look at the service level for the queue, and then we if the queue time is greater than the service level value, then it missed it. If it's less than, then it met it. So let me go back. So if we do outbound, actually inbound. So here we can see that the service level and the met level. If I run the report. Wait for it to load. And there we go. So if I go to the right, we can see that after this queue, for the cars queue, the service level is 5 seconds. So I think that's the default. Looks like it hasn't been configured in the system. And then if the call was if the queue time was less than 5 seconds, then it met it. If it's greater than, then like in this case, 7 seconds, then it did not meet it.
All right, awesome. Perfect.
I'm saying wrong column. I'm highlighting the wrong column. I was looking at ring time, but yes, here queue time. So in this case, yeah, 14 seconds, 14 seconds. They both didn't. So yeah, I was looking at the ring time, but yes, yeah. So it's based on queue time, not ring time. As far as less than or greater than.
All right, fantastic. I don't think we have any other questions at the moment. Thanks again, Mike. Enlightening as always. And just a reminder that if you ever miss part of the webinar or just want to review it again at your own pace, we repost these webinars within 24 hours after the live one takes place. So you can always check us out at verify.com/webinars for all past webinars listed by topic. Let me go ahead and take control back here. Let's see. Yes, and get back to my screen. All right, here we go. Now it's time for the moment you've all been waiting for, the winner of the weekly Amazon gift card. Got to keep those free movie rentals coming in, right? That's what I use all my Amazon gift cards for. So the winner this week, congratulations, Josh Passmore. You are the winner. Your account manager will be reaching out to you with your $50 Amazon gift card. And one more thing I want to mention before we wrap up, and that's our new social platform, Planet Verify. It's not new, it's been out for a few months, but it's, it's pretty new to us and a lot of you as well. This is a great way to expand your knowledge of Verify and connect with both Verify employees and other customers who are using Verify, get their feedback on how they use the product. It's got a lot of good knowledge base type material in it. So it's almost like a second knowledge base where you can find some technical answers or some suggestions for how to do things. Like if you're wondering how to, build certain dashboards or reports or whatnot, there's a lot of good material in there. Also, some fun topics. If you want a cocktail recipe, you want to talk Star Wars trivia, whatever, drop on by and check us out at planet.verify.com. All right. Next week's Wednesday webinar workshop is going to be all about Verify alerts. Is your Verify system alerting you if there's an issue? As probably some of you can attest, there's nothing worse than going to run a report when some executive's asking you for some data and finding that there isn't any new data processed to verify for the past month, or suddenly developing slowness with the application and everything's grinding to a halt and you're wondering why, and it turns out it's because the disk space is low or has run out completely. We have alerts that can address all of these types of issues as long as they're properly configured and can help you avoid these pitfalls. So I definitely recommend checking this out and getting these alerts set up. If you don't already have them set up in your system, they can just save you a lot of headaches down the road. They're kind of a good early warning system to let us know if there's a problem, so that if you get an alert, you can contact us as soon as possible and we can help you resolve the issue before it really becomes an issue a lot of the time. So that's going to be hosted by Matt Sykes and Dre Divats. That's next Wednesday, same bat time, same bat channel. Thanks again, everybody, for attending, and we appreciate you, as always, taking time out of your busy day, and we'll see you next time.